There's nothing wrong with going to get professional help. Yes, you should seek God first. Yes, you should go to your pastor. Yes, you should go to trusted friends. But they should tell you, I've done all that I can do. I think you need to seek professional help.
Okay, hope you're excited today as I am. This is Brian, I'm your host of the Journey to Freedom podcast. We are here for another exciting episode as I get to do more of these and as I get to, spend time talking to different guests and finding out where people are at and finding out what people do. This year, we are interviewing 100 Black men. And as a result of interviewing, I'm finding out that there is a whole lot of our, I guess I would say, modern history of the folks that are alive right now that will be written about in history books in the future, or whether it's history books or history chips or history videos or whatever it is that kids are doing, that we have figured out and come a long way from where the folks that have come before us have. The difference is that we are still in the journey. We are still moving forward. We are still figuring this thing out, which is kind of nice because when I think about all the things that people before me went through and did, I'm excited to be alive in this period. I'm excited to be alive at this time when some of the work has been done. Not that we have finished all the work, but a lot of some of the struggle and the work has been done. And so today I have Pastor Frank Jones on with the Goodwill Christian Fellowship Church that he runs. And
it's actually God's will.
But God's not Christian will. Wait, I'm not looking at the words, right? It says God's will on my paper, and other words are coming out of my mouth. I don't know, so I apologize.
No problem.
I must have been thinking about something in my mind, but when we think about our story and what we've been able to do and accomplish, and sometimes one of the themes, Pastor Frank, one of the themes that's come on this show a lot is people need to see that somebody else has done it before them in order to kind of do the thing. Right. I think it's getting less prevalent where some people just believe I can do it because of who I am. But I think that's something that's part of everybody's life, no matter what, whether you're black, white, red, yellow, green, we are creatures that are the way that God made us, that we are in relationship. Right. And those relationships that we have begin to shape who we are. And then when we shape who we are and we start having our belief system affect who we are, then there's things that we believe that we can do. Yes. And so I want to hear, Pastor Frank's story. We were still going to talk about our trust, faith, health, identity, and finances. Maybe we may get to all of it depending on the story that he tells us. But when we think about what excites us, what gets us up in the morning to do the things, because one of the things that I was even sharing with Frank before is, my prayer is, dear Lord, give me the wisdom to do the things that you put me on this earth to do in a way that pleases you and serves others. And when we can figure out how to serve others, and that means we can be in God's purpose. And when we're in God's purpose, I believe there's hardly anything. Things will go wrong,
of course,
but there isn't any trajectory that you get up and say, oh, and I think there's times you go like, God, why? Why do you got me in this? But you still feel good about being in His purpose.
Yes.
And when you're not, you just say, God, why? You're like, let me get out of here as fast as I can. So Frank, please go ahead and just share your story, and then we'll just kind of go from there and see where it goes.
Okay. First of all, let me say, Dr. Brian, I am so grateful to you for doing this. This is a major undertaking, so praise God. You are to be commended for the work that you're doing, putting together these voices to speak to those who are looking for an example. Mm-hmm. And so I'll start off by saying, I really appreciate you considering me to be an example. And it's nothing that I've done on my own. I believe it's according to my faith base. I thank God for allowing me to be positioned where I am. So, just briefly about me, my name, Pastor Frank Jones, grew up in Northeast Denver. Went to Harrington Elementary School, Merle, Cole, Gove, and then finally graduated from South High. Running Rebels, go woo woo, home on the Running Rebels. I went to Eastern Wyoming Junior College on a basketball scholarship and played a couple years there at Eastern Wyoming Junior College. And then finally went to Metropolitan State College right downtown Denver. Got my computer degree, my bachelor's of computer science, and started working for a company called Great West Financial back in been there for I was there for 23 years working for Great West, and God in His infinite wisdom called me to preach, and knowing, of course, I didn't think I was qualified to do it at the time, but whoever God calls, He'll also qualify. And so He
Amen.
called me to preach. Been preaching since 1995, and I'm glad He did that because, and then in 2017, I got laid off from my six-figure job, and I was just devastated, wondering how I was going to take care of my family. And here it is, 7 years later, pastoring full time, and God has taken care of us. I mean, there's some struggles. There's some struggles, definitely struggles, but we are still here, and I know it's by the grace of God. So I attribute, if you want to call it success, all of my success can be attributed to my faith in God, to my upbringing, and of course, in 1995, I married the love of my life, Dr. Tawana Jones, and we have 5 children. We have 5 children, 2 girls and 3 boys. Proud of all my children. Pastoring full time, and also was called to be the executive director of the Daddy Bruce Randolph Legacy Foundation. So, in a nutshell, that is where I am.
Oh my gosh, what a great, interesting story, and the things that you've done when you started, you know,
Dr. Brown, I think you're muted somehow, or somehow it got muted.
is that better now?
Yes, I hear you now. Yes.
Okay, that was weird. That was
Yes.
really weird. Because okay, well we'll see what we can do to fix that.
Okay.
And so one of the things that what I was saying in your timeline is you were telling your story and telling your I'm sorry, I'm just making sure I can hear you now too.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah, I can hear you good now. So when you were telling your story, your timelines, one of the things that on the timelines that I was hearing is, like you said, I started preaching back in 1995, but then you said you got your computer degree and worked in for 23 years. And I'm thinking, well, if he started preaching after he was working 23 years, then I'm saying that then you're not that old. You're not, there's no way.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
That means if you were preaching 20, you were working for 23 years before 1995, and then you started preaching. I'm like, holy moly! So, but what's kind of cool is you've been able to do both. You've been able
Yes.
to not only work because a lot of folks that are in ministry, that role sometimes have to do several different things at the same time to make ministry work. And so, for if there's folks that are on here, they're going, okay, this is always easy. There's no struggle and there's not a lot to do. But what that tells me is, somebody told me, if success leaves clues, one of the clues is busy people get things done.
Amen.
People who have a lot on their plate get things done. It's the people who sit around wishing that they were doing stuff,
Right.
thinking about doing stuff, getting ready to get ready to do stuff, are the people that you usually come to you that says, well, it's not all working out for me.
Right.
So, thank you for the things that you've done. Let's start out with family, because it sounds like you have an incredible family and your kids. I want to know, and this is something that is another theme in what we do, what is it like to be a dad?
Wow. That's a loaded question. To be a dad is, I would say, to give wisdom. to be in a position to offer instruction, to be there for your children when they need you, to show them how to live life, to give them guidance, direction, just to love them, to love them. Of course, children, just like when we were children, we didn't always do everything that our parents wanted us to do. We may have been what other people call bad seeds, but
Mhm.
parents, parents' love should be unconditional for their child. So definitely love and direction and guidance.
Oh, that's
a,
awesome.
a, a dad is the person that gives the foundation. A dad speaks life into his children. A dad is one who will encourage his children, even when they mess up, to keep going. This is just temporary. Do not make a permanent decision over temporary circumstances. Keep going.
Oh, I love it. When I think of, one of as we talk about these themes, and so many of the people that I am able to do these interviews with, say I didn't have a dad growing up, or I tried to become a dad, and then I find some people that say, well, I'm discouraged because I don't believe I'm enough as a dad, or I'm doing the right things that I should be doing. What would you say to that person that just kind of feels inadequate of being a dad because maybe they don't have that experience, or they didn't have that upbringing, or they don't see what it's like? What's your thoughts on that?
To that person, I would say that, you know, if you didn't have it modeled, it does become more difficult, but you just do the best you can. You just do the best you can. And of course, there are several books and documents and videos on how to be a good dad. None of it works. Well, I should say, uh,
I love it.
experience is the best teacher. You just have to get in there, pray, and
Mhm.
ask God to help you do the best you can.
Gotcha. Well, and I believe that God's gonna show you and help you. Uh,
Exactly.
Put people in your life that are examples. It doesn't have to be your own biological dad who is around to be able to show you, but so many people have people in our communities that can show and are evidence
True.
of. Uh,
Absolutely.
and we talk about this all the time: is that kids need to have a father. We have lots of single moms out there, and which is great, and they're taking on the role and the responsibility as much as they can, and kids need to have their dad around. But on the other side of it, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit, is something I found is, I believe, I have 8 children, and I believe all 8 of my children need me very, very much, and
Yes.
I'm glad I was around and I was glad to be there. But I think I need them more. In order for me to be successful, in
Yes.
order for me to become the man that I need to be. I'm not saying they don't need me. I'm just saying once you become that dad, you actually need them. What's your thoughts?
I agree. I agree totally. Uh, of course, when your children are young, they look up to you.
Mm-hmm.
But man, to live your life through your child as they get older, you're just amazed at what they're doing. I thank God for all my children. All of them are doing well, and I just love to see them grow up.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome to live your life through your children's eyes, uh, to help them experience all their firsts, and just to be there as they go through life. Yes, we they used to look up to us, and now I find myself looking to my children. I mean, they are just awesome, and it's just exciting to see them grow.
Yeah, I agree. I think the things that I learned and the mistakes that I made, trying to figure out this thing called fatherhood, and
Yes.
the times that I might have said something that, oh, I want to take that back and apologize, or the times that I said something incredible that nurtured them and I saw the
Yes.
reaction, helped me to become a better person in the community, helped me to become a better boss, helped me to become a better business owner, because I had that direct connection with them. Would you agree with some of those things, that you are a better man because you've been a good father or a father?
I can definitely see a correlation there. Yes, uh, raising children helps you to become a better person, because children will pull some things out of you that you may not have ever experienced otherwise. Uh, Raising children and loving on them and teaching them and instructing them, it helps us to become better citizens. I agree.
One of the things that you said just a minute ago, you said, living through our children, but you added through their eyes and through the things that they're doing. Because one of the things that I've also found that maybe not the greatest quality in the world, and when I think of athletics and sports and, is I've seen where parents try to live as if
Yep.
their kids have to do greater. If their kids aren't doing great, they're not great.
Exactly.
Like my kid has to win in a basketball game. If he's not winning, then somehow I've lost or something.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on
I agree with you as well. We definitely would love for our children to follow in our footsteps or be even greater than we are. But as long as our children are successful, and what that may look different to each person, as long as they're doing what they love, and it's nothing illegal, and they're loving life and they're doing an awesome job and they love it, there's no reason why parents should force their dreams upon their children. They're individual people. They need to live their own lives, and it's up to the parents to guide them. To guide them.
Gotcha. Oh man, this is so good. One of the and I'm loving to take it to kind of where we're going. One of the inadequacies that are, or things that I see when I think of Black men and thinking of us trying to become that person we need to be, or the person that God has called us to be. Sometimes we get caught up in the we're not good enough, so now let's start looking at other men who are doing well and kind of living our dreams through some of them. So let's say, I know you play basketball, so we can kind of use basketball as a an example. So not everybody who plays basketball makes it to the NBA, right? So not everybody gets to play in college, whether it's junior college, regular, any college, that they get to play basketball. And so they get out and they go, okay, well, I didn't achieve my dreams, but LeBron is achieving his dream. So I'm going to go get me a LeBron jersey, and I'm going to know all the stats on LeBron, now all the stats on LeBron's son, and I'm going to make sure I make it to every game and never miss a game. And LeBron doesn't know me, right? Exactly. LeBron has no idea. And I know more about him than I might know about the kids that I'm nurturing and growing up and leading. How do you help somebody say, no, your self-worth and where you're at is so good, you don't have to live somebody else's dream? What's your thoughts? Yeah.
Thoughts on that? I appreciate that comment. A lot of people want to pattern their lives after others, and there's nothing wrong with patterning your life after someone else, but you do not want to be an identical replica of somebody else, because God made each of us special and unique in our very own way. He created something special in all of us. And if we try to duplicate what somebody else is doing, somebody else's lifestyle, we are basically saying, Lord, the way you made me is not enough, and I want a do-over. Make me over. And God does not make junk. God made us exactly how he wants us to be. He tailor-made us because there's niches that only we can fill. And if we try to operate like somebody else, we're missing the lane that God called us to. So even though we want to, take some of the great qualities that others have and strive for perfection, we need to be our own character. We need to know who we are, and we need to live the life that we were meant to live according to how God made us.
Yeah, that is so true, and so hard to do sometimes, because to know who we are, when we have all these examples or all these people who have told us our whole lives, this is who you are, this is what we believe you're capable of or what you're doing. Some of it's systemic and just in the opportunity and the examples that we have. Some of it comes from the parents and folks that we have, but finding ourselves and finding in your journey as you think of the identity that you hold for yourself. And I think that's probably one of the most powerful forces in the universe, is
Yes.
being in congruency with that.
Yes.
What are some of the things that help shape your identity that others could look for?
Definitely my religious or my spiritual background.
Okay.
Remember mom and dad making me go to church. Of course, when young people, they don't want to go. You got better things to do, so you think. But I thank God that mom and dad made me go to church. And just to pass it down, I made my children go to church too when they were, when they were young. So definitely, a lot of my firm roots and foundation are found in my belief system in God. And then, of course, also my parents. I thank God that I had both of my parents living and nurturing me. So it was modeled. It was modeled for me how to live life, how to be effective, how what the relationship between mom and dad should look like. And because of that, I know that the majority of how I grew up is now being carried out in my life because of the things that were instilled in me. So I thank God for that. So definitely my faith in God, family, and what else has rooted and grounded me? Just life experience. Life experience will teach you what to do and what not to do based upon the results you get from those things.
Okay. The one of the things that you're kind of bringing up here, and I'm seeing it in a pattern when we think about identity. Not everybody had to, had the luxury of two parents, or
Yes.
being able to go to church all the time. Um, Life experiences might not be, ones that they go, oh man, I'm so glad that, we grew up so poor, yeah, whatever it is, or so wealthy, or on either side of it. What are some of the things now that folks are older, men are older, and maybe didn't have some of those foundational things that shape the identity of who you are? What can they do to make sure that their identity, because when you talk about being good, or the life expectancy to know what's good and what's not good, I think intrinsically we know what that is. I mean, I think
Yes.
we grow up knowing, but do we really know, if we haven't had those leaders or teachers in our lives?
Um, and what was, and the question again? I want to make sure I
The
answered
question is, what would, how somebody who's a little bit older, who didn't maybe have some of those good experiences, how can they shape an identity that they can be proud of, I guess?
Okay. So if it wasn't modeled for a person and they are wondering, did I get it right? Or, how do I get it right? Just understand that if it wasn't modeled for you, there is a formula, or there is a pattern. There
Mhm.
is an example that all of us should be striving to follow. So if it wasn't modeled for us in the home, we can definitely look to the Word of God to help us model those things. And of course, since I'm a Baptist preacher, I believe strongly in the foundations of what the scriptures teach. Uh, and it's not just about being good and doing good, it's about your belief system as well. But there are, if you wanted to bring things out of the Bible and get away from the Bible, there are books and there are seminars, there are several ways that you can learn how to be the person that you are striving to be. Uh, and one of the best things that I think you mentioned it, Dr. Brian, is definitely if you didn't have it modeled for you in the home, look to the community. There are several people, men, women, that are in the community that you can hopefully sit with and talk with, and they can drop some wisdom on you and share life experiences and give you suggestions on how to become the person, the man that you're trying to become.
Well, and I don't want folks to think, well, because I grew up this way, or because I was, I didn't have those examples, that's the reason I am the way I am. And I don't. I believe most of us, all of us, God has put within us right and wrong. We know
Yes,
when we're doing something that we're not supposed to be doing. We know
exactly.
that, no, I don't have to do this in order to get this, and all those things. I mean, I think we use those as excuses.
Exactly.
And I want to jump into, we're talking about relationships here, and I love being able to talk to, a fellow pastor this way. But when we think about our relationships with our spouses, And I hear so many times, man, well, my daddy didn't, treat my mom that way. Why should I? And these are the things that we need to talk about in order
Yes.
to be able to go through that. What are your thoughts on
Well, because I married a black woman, she's not going to let me treat her. No,
that?
no. Uh,
Yeah.
I thank God that um, there ought to be a type of respect and love that you have for your wife. And we have to get people to understand that before they get a wife, that they need to be looking for the characteristics that, what are you looking for? Are you looking for somebody to take care of you? Or are you looking for somebody that you can take care of? Because, of course, the Bible teaches us that there's foundation, there are principles there. The man is supposed to take care of the woman.
Mhm.
And do we see that happening in today's society? Well, yeah, it's evident, but there are a lot of places we can look where we see just the opposite. Men, sitting around being lazy and wanting the woman to take care of them. But that's not the way it was designed. It's designed for the man to be the provider, to take care of his wife. Not saying that women cannot provide. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that the way God designed it is the man is supposed to take the lead in provision and taking care of the family. And he is to love his wife as God loved the church. He's to love his bride, to nurture her, to care for her, to make sure her needs are taken care of, to be a protector. So, yeah, all those things.
Gotcha. Let me give you a few examples of all the years of marriage that you've had, and what are some of the ways that you could definitely say that you've been able to love your wife.
Okay. Another loaded question. So we've been married for 29 years. What a blessing. The ways I've been able to love her. Um, and when we first got started, there was some health issues. And I don't mind sharing, and she wouldn't mind sharing either. She had endometriosis.
Okay.
And so we were told that we could not have children. And one of the ways I loved her through that is we kept praying. I kept being a source of encouragement for her and letting her know that, just because the doctors say that this is the end of it, we know that God has the ultimate and final say. So, of course, you already know the end of the story. We have 5 children,
Mhm.
but at the beginning, there was no hope. We were desperate. We even tried introvita, and I can't even think of the name, introvitra. We tried to get pregnant by science, and it
Okay.
didn't work. And finally, we took our hands off of it. And our church, our old church, had a month of prayer. And during that month of prayer, we shared with our pastor and with the church, and they prayed and they prayed and they prayed. And that month, not only did my wife conceive, but 3 other women in the church got
Wow.
pregnant. So
Right.
I definitely know the power of prayer. Prayer changes things. And
Mhm.
if it doesn't change the circumstances, it will change the way we view the circumstance, which is ultimately a change enough.
Wow, that's neat. The You brought up earlier that you were at a point where you lost your job, and then you needed to go. Well, you believe God called you into full time ministry at that point, and there had to be trust. Not only your trust in God, but trust in fellow man, trust in systems that may not have provided in the past. What does it mean to trust, and how do you
Mhm.
interact with when you think about trust?
Trust is something that is earned. It's earned. Um, I believe trust comes from relationships. You're able to trust something because they have a track record, whether it be a person or an item or whatever it is. You build trust in that thing or that person because of your experience with them. You know that thing or that person's not going to harm you. They only have your best interest at heart. So you can trust or put your confidence in that person because you know they have your best interest at heart. They only want to do what's going to promote you and lift you and uh, bring value to you. And so trust is earned. And I believe it comes from experience with a person. And when that trust is broken, man, the bridge coming back it's phenomenal.
Hmm.
And I think one of the things we get mixed up is when we talk about forgiveness versus reconciliation. So
Okay.
when we're talking about trust, if a person breaks your trust and and they say they apologize and say they're sorry, we're supposed to forgive them. But a lot of people think that if you forgive them, that means that the relationship is restored and you're back on the buddy buddy system and you're going out to dinner now, you're going out to breakfast, you're doing all the things. No, no. You broke my trust. You
Hmm.
broke that confidence. You broke that bond. I'll forgive you, meaning I'm going to remember what you did, only it's not going to cause me any more pain. I'm going to release myself and release you from what you did to me. But don't expect just because I forgave you that our relationship is now mended. You have to re-earn that trust.
Gotcha. When you think, do you start out? I mean, because you say trust is earned, which I absolutely believe. Do you give a person when you first meet them a sense of I'm going to trust you until you prove me wrong, or do you make them earn it up front, or what's the mix there?
Well, I can only speak personally, and I know some people that operate both ways. I personally, I'm trusting to a fault, and so yeah, I trust you until you give me a reason not to. Yeah,
I don't know if it's just those of us who just love on people and want to serve people that I'm the same way. Where I trust, then you prove it wrong. Well, what that sets me up, to that I could be burned. I could be very disappointed
yeah,
in somebody as a result of it. But then after they've broken that trust, like you said, now it's a system of moving up. But until then, yeah, we're gonna go, like you said, almost to a fault in
yeah.
some ways of being able to trust people. Um, so when you think about, we got our identity and our trust. What are some things that you think about? You talked about some health challenges with your family, but as Black men, our expected life expectancy is 72. Which is we're not taking care of ourselves is what that tells me, because
Yeah,
there's the rest of the world is a little bit longer. Some of it is our food choices, our physical, but the other side of it is our mental health as well.
oh
And
yeah,
so maybe you could speak towards maybe some of the physical, and then we can jump into maybe some trauma or some mental health and things that we need to work through on our mental health side, because that can affect us physically too, I believe.
definitely. uh, I'll start by saying the way God designed the body is phenomenal, and we know that we were made in His image and after in His likeness. And so when we think about God, of course, we know Him in a multiplicity of ways. But one of the three major ways we know Him is God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. So because there are three entities within God, and we're made, we worship one God. We just know Him in the multiplicity of ways, but three of the best ways. And because we're made in His image and after His likeness, that means that there's three parts of us as well. So there's body, soul, and some people interchange spirit with soul, but it's really body, soul, and spirit. And the way that God designed it, all three of those things effect or affect one another. So if you're not getting the proper amount of sleep, it can affect you spiritually. If you're not getting enough reading in the word, it can affect you physically. If your mind is constantly, racing with trauma and issues, then it will affect you both spiritually and mentally. So they all work together. And when you talk about the physical part of us, we need to get rest. I was reading just the other day that it's, because I'm one that doesn't sleep much, especially, on Saturday nights preparing for Sunday.
Mhm.
But it says we're supposed to be getting like, 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So who gets that? Where? Yeah. So 7 to 9 hours of sleep, eating right. We definitely have to work out. We should be working out daily, at least 30 minutes a day, doing something, riding a stationary bike or taking a walk. So we definitely want our physical health to be as good as it can be. And that's not to say that if you work out physically, that your life expectancy is going to be long, because you could, you know, only God knows. But we want to make sure we put our bodies in a position where we can get the best benefits.
Yeah. And then we start talking about now our mental health, and, in the willingness to go, even seek, professional help. I mean, I know when we say, okay, well, I have my pastor and I have my dad and I have my friend or whatever, is that enough in some cases for some of the things that have happened in our lives?
There is nothing wrong with going to a psychiatrist or someone to help you with mental issues. As a matter of fact, God created them and gave them the education, because
Yeah.
the whole body is supposed to be
Hmm.
working together. And if your mind is not right, nothing else is going. The mind leads, and the body will follow.
Hmm.
So if the mind is not right, you're at a deficit already. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with going to get professional help. Yes, you should seek God first. Yes, you should go to your pastor. Yes, you should go to trusted friends. But they should tell you, I've done all that I can do. I think you need to seek some mental, you need to seek professional help. And when you do, make sure that it's Christian based.
Hmm.
So there's nothing wrong with it. Just make sure it's Christian based.
Yeah, well, and God sent people, right?
Yeah.
The last, at least for me, I haven't, God hasn't come down and audibly, said a whole burning bush or said words to me, right? But
Right. Right.
he speaks through people, and he speaks through people that are willing to help. And, I think more so now than even when you and I grew up, because of information and because the amount of bombardedness we have of different opinions. I mean, we're different opinions, different history, right? Different ways that it's written, different ways and viewpoints. Where I see like depression, being way more prevalent today. Some of it's just because of the internet. Because the internet exposes. Well, when I see a Facebook post over and over again, just as an example of everybody's best life,
Yeah.
and then somehow we think that our life is supposed to be like their best life that they're posting. And we're wondering why we don't have a string of 365 days of greatness, where we don't see that one person doing it. We see
Right.
several people, but we think everybody's life is like that. And then we believe we're not enough, or we get discouraged because we're not able to duplicate some of those things we see on social media. How do we impact that? How do we, make sure that we're either seeing people that can help us with those things, or seeking out other folks that can walk us through relationships? What's your thoughts on how we deal with this bombardmentness, I guess, of all this information?
I definitely agree with you. We are being bombarded with info, and we need to decipher what we're listening to. I mean, there's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong, with going to Facebook or TikTok and watching a video or two. Or sometimes you get on Facebook, or you get on TikTok, or you get on Instagram, and then 2 hours later,
Mm-hmm.
where did my
Yep.
time go?
Yeah.
So we need to make sure we do everything in increments. I mean, we need to set a schedule, a time. If you're going to get on Facebook, you're going to get on TikTok, set an alarm so that you only spend 10, 15 minutes at the most on it. But yeah, make sure your mind is being nourished, because what comes in is going to go out.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're constantly bombarded by ads and people's skewed views of life, and then that's what we're going to gravitate toward. And it's funny you mentioned social media, because I was thinking about video games. There are a lot of men and young men who love video games. Nothing wrong with it, but the violent video games, you see that stuff over and over, and you spend hours and hours playing violent video games, and we wonder why the world is being, people are getting guns and shooting up everybody, because
Mm-hmm.
most people have lost touch with reality, and they think they're playing a video game you know so
Oh
We
my
need to be
gosh, you're so
careful
right.
about what we let in.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you die in a video game, right, you just get back up and die again over and over again, right? But in
Yes.
reality, that's not true. When
No.
you shoot somebody and the things that they do, well, and the amount of time, even they're violent, and some of them, whatever the morals, because whatever we bring into our mind, right, becomes who we are.
Yes.
And if we're spending all that time taking in,
Definitely.
whatever's programmed in there and saying, okay, so how do I know who I am compared to what I've been playing, or the what they call an avatar
Uh,
of
yeah.
who I've become? How do I make sure that I separate that out?
As a man thinketh, so is he. So
Hmm.
if we continually think on things that are negative, we're going to begin, if you think on it, then it's going to become ingrained in your system. And what becomes ingrained in your system, you begin to speak. And whatever you speak is going to come towards you. So we need to make sure that what goes in are things that are lovely or of good report, things that are virtuous. And when we think on those things, then we'll begin to live those things and begin to speak those things, and those things will come towards us. Not saying that just because you have a good, mindset and you begin to speak positively, positive affirmations and the Word of God, that does not mean that life is not going to send you some hell. But
Hmm.
it does mean that when hell comes, you have a better grip and you have a better foundation on how to handle that hell that you're in.
Absolutely. Let's pivot a little bit over into money and finances, because I know one of the things that we see all the time in all of this social media and thing is, and that we celebrate, is folks that have tremendous amount of wealth, or not even a tremendous amount of, the kind of wealth to be able to do the things they want to do when they want to do it, however they want to do it. And so everybody wants to be famous because they think that, I believe people want to be famous, one, so people will say good things about them, and on the
Yes.
other side, they want to be famous because it thinks that it brings on this thing called money. I've been, as when I was a financial advisor and working through, people would say, "Is money important?" Because God says money's not important. I said, "Well, I don't see where in the Bible it says money's not important. I see it up there with oxygen, because it's something that interacts with us every single day. In fact, pretty much every minute of every day we're spent. If we own something and we're in a house and we're paying electricity, right? Every minute we're spending money, right? Everything that we do, it's
Yes.
an options that allows us to move through this world and do the things that we want to do. We can't get to church on Sunday without spending money to get there, right? We spend
Amen.
money on clothes that we get. So it's super important, but it isn't everything. It isn't where we spend all our time thinking about doing it something that we have. You talked about at one point where you lost the job that was a six-figure job that probably allowed you a certain lifestyle, and then you go into full-time ministry, which I don't know if it dipped or just kept going up, but whatever that was, how do you interact and think about money that can maybe be able to help somebody understand that you shouldn't be dwelling on it all day long, but at the same time, you need to take care of what God, be stewards of what God has given us.
Yes. So, Dr. Brown, I love that, because when we think about money, as you mentioned, a lot of people think that, they think that the Bible says that money is evil and that it's not any good. And I would just like to offer to those people who think that money is not valuable and that it's evil, I'll be more than glad to take it off your hands. I'll just take it off your hands.
I love it.
It's not money. It's not money that's evil. It's the love of money. And like you so beautifully mentioned, what people will do to get it and how much
Mhm.
time they spend thinking about it. And like in anything, we have to put it in its proper perspective. Money is important and money is valuable. And then we think about the proper, I think the proper way to think about money is that we need it to do what God's called us to do.
Mm.
Money is needed to do what God called us to do. And we are to use it wisely as a source directed at whatever God wants us to direct it at to get the job done. but you can't do anything without money. You need to have finances. But on the same token, just because money is so valuable, we should not be thinking about it all the time. How can I get more? Many of us are striving for more money when we haven't even thanked God for what He's blessed us with already. So when we talk about finances, I think one of the best ways to ensure financial stability is to treat finances the way God has required us to treat it. Whatever God blesses you with, you bless Him back by giving Him at least 10%. 10% of your earnings belongs to Him anyway. As a matter of fact, all of it, all of our finances belong to God. If it wasn't for Him, we wouldn't have anything. And He just trusts us enough. I'm going to give you all of it. And I want to see if you're going to bless me back with 10% for tithes and then give me an offering. So I believe, first of all, we need to bring our tithes to God. Secondly, if we're paying, God, we need to pay ourselves. So if you want to be financially stable, I believe 10% should go to God or to your church, and you should pay yourself 10%. Put away 10% in an account that you do not touch. And then the other 80%, then you spend that wisely. But and that will help generate a mindset that I can't spend everything I get. Because if you spend everything you get, you won't have anything.
Gotcha. When we think about lack or resources, one of the things that if we add that to God's economy compared, because I've heard a lot, as we're recording this, we are in October of, no, we're in November now of 2024. And, so whenever you're watching this, but because we're in election season, um, a lot of things that I've seen is talking about the economy and people asking, are you better off today than you were 4 or 5 years ago? And you think about God's economy and lack of resources or not having resources or not having enough and where that comes from. I don't believe we have, in my mind, I don't believe we have a lack of resources or God's put a lack of resources on in our country or in our, in our ability to access it. I think sometimes it's just how we utilize the resources that He's giving us.
Yes.
And are we doing things that perpetuate us growing our finances and growing or are lessening the spending that we have? Or are we looking at others and saying, I've got to compare myself
Ooh.
with that person, and therefore because I'm comparing myself, I'm not doing well, I'm not doing good, I don't have what that person has. Therefore, what's your thought on that whole process of what we do in our comparison world?
I think and I've done it, as they say, and my last name is Jones, keeping up with the Joneses.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to keep up with us. Keeping up with the Joneses, you look over somebody else's fence and the grass always seems to look greener over there. And so you try to go over to the other side to get their grass. No, just water your own lawn. Take care of your own lawn, fertilize it, and it'll be just as green as the other. So my thought process is with finances, don't try to compare yourself to someone else because you don't know what it took for them to get what they got and how they got it. Just stay in your own lane and make sure that you're providing and that you're saving and that you're investing. Investing is critical. You want to invest in something that's slow growth. Don't spend everything you have and allow your money to work for you versus you working for your money. You ought to try to find, if a person wants to be financially stable, they need to find different avenues, different ways of making income so that, if something goes wrong with source A, source B, C, and D are still coming in. So y'all have different streams of income and need to God has given us creativity and innovation. So as creative as we are and as innovative as a people as we are, we need to find ways to make money that will work for us and not us for it.
Gotcha. I love that you said your last name is Jones. My mom's maiden name was Jones, so I'm trying to keep up with the same our family, right? The same Joneses that are here. When we think about our, the finances that come in,
Mhm.
one of the themes that I find a lot when people struggle with money is they don't even know how much is coming in or how much is going out. And when I think of a lot of black men who said, well, I'm not good with math, I'm not good with money, so I just let my wife take care of it, and then she goes and gives me an allowance. How important is it? I mean, I don't think everybody needs to be the accountant and everybody needs to crunch all the numbers. But how important do you think it is to know the amount of that money, since it's something that impacts you every single day, is coming in and coming out?
It's very critically important that if you don't get to the point where you are able to calculate where every cent is going, you ought to at least know. You ought to at least know what's coming in, so that you don't get ripped off. I mean, if you think about some of the professional athletes that just hire managers, some of them probably just are taking it at face value that they're going to treat you right, that they're going to take your money and do what they're supposed to do with it. No, I want to know. I want to know where every cent is going. I don't have to put it there, but at least I want to know it. I want to be accountable for what's coming in. If it's my money and God gave it to me, I want to be accountable. I want to know where it's going. And talking about resources that are coming in, we need to make sure create a budget. If you don't or you're not able to do it mentally, physically, get a piece of paper and a spreadsheet, or if you don't know Microsoft Excel or any of these spreadsheets, just put it on paper so that you know what's coming in and what's going out. Gotta have a budget. You gotta have a budget so that if you want to be financially astute, you need to know where your money is going, and a budget will help you do that.
Oh, that is so true. And you say, can I think of it mentally? And my father, he's 86 years old, and I go visit him once a month, and we have conversations. And every month he says, Brian, I got 7 bills, and
Uh,
this is how much money I had coming in. So mentally, I could deal with only 7 things going out. But
yes.
in this digital world, they even have apps that say you have subscriptions to things that you might have double subscriptions or triple subscriptions, because we don't see it. It's not a physical thing. It's just this invisible world where these numbers go back and forth. And so if you don't know, what's coming in, for him, he's got Social Security and a military retirement, and it's exactly the same every single month.
Yes.
And so, and you only have 7 bills going out, then that's simple. But most of our lives, I would say, are not that simple.
I would agree. And especially in this information age, as you mentioned earlier, if you don't keep account of what's going in and going out, money could be coming from your account that you don't even know about. And when you look at your account at year end, wait a minute, where there was $20 here, 20. Why is this coming out of my account? And of course, when you call, oh, it's too late. We can only refund you two or
Mhm.
three of. You need to know where your money is going. So I would, make sure you're balancing your accounts at least once a week, if not once a month.
Yeah, and I don't want those watching this today and having this conversation as you're part of Frank and I talking, that we are impervious to the things that happen and we're not part of it. I
Amen.
just this last month we had the Ring doorbell system. Well, when we got our other security system, I thought I canceled Ring, and so for the last it just goes onto a card, and the card, continues to do whatever it's doing. And so we, 2.5 years later, we realize we've been spending $40 a month or something on a Ring doorbell that doesn't even exist.
Wow.
There's nothing. And then I called them up, and like you said, it's like, well, you've been charging me. You see that it's not active. And they're like, well, yeah, but you didn't tell us not to fill you every single month. And I'm like, man, the amount of money that if we don't
Yes.
know everything that's coming in and coming out. And like I said before, even if your wife in this case, takes care of those bills and takes care of the finances, you should still have a handle on how much is coming in, how much is going out, and then get together. And you can tell me if you think this is important with your wife and your spouse and discuss often, because things
Exactly.
change often, right?
Yes. And your wife may or may not like to go shopping a lot, and you don't know because the no, because oh yeah, honey, thanks for the money, and you think you have a certain amount in the account, and you go look at it, and it's not there, and honey, oh, I went shopping, I got, but men are sometimes like that as well. So yeah,
Mhm.
you want to be abreast of what's going on
Yeah.
in your account. And Dr. Brown, I'm not going to leave you out there by yourself. I checked an account, a couple of accounts that I am supposed to be looking at monthly, and I noticed like for 2 or 3 months, I've been being hit with extra withdrawal fees because the account is now grandfathered out of something, and I didn't know. So if I were following my own advice, and I would have saw it when it first happened, and I could alleviate the problem. But we get caught too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Pastor Frank, is there anything, this has been an incredible conversation, and we've been covering a lot of ground. Is there anything that we didn't get to talk about that you really wanted to make sure that we covered during this time that people are going to watch what we talked about?
I would definitely say the foundation that I have been uh, appointed executive director. It is the Daddy Bruce Randolph Legacy Foundation. And so once a year, people come together, organizations come together, companies come together for the Denver Feed a Family. And that's happening this month. So I'm not sure exactly when this will air, but it always happens around, it's always the Saturday before the Thanksgiving. It's always the Saturday before that Thanksgiving where multitudes of people come together for an assembly line around 34th and Williams. And this year we're trying to feed 7,500 people who may not have a meal otherwise, a turkey basket. So just keep in mind that if you would like to donate or to give your time or finances, you can look on our website and just donate. Daddy Bruce Randolph Legacy Foundation. You can go there and donate. We'd appreciate your time and your finances.
Now, so that website, is it all the Daddy Bruce Foundation
The
Legacy?
website
Yeah,
is, to give you the exact, it is www.daddybrucelegacy.org.
okay.
daddybrucelegacy.org.
Gotcha.
Thank
And
you,
love
Doctor.
for people out there. And when we talk about volunteer opportunities and stuff, can people come and serve and that kind of stuff as well during that time, or is it just?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I mean, thousands of people come. The assembly line is massive. It takes up like 2 or 3 blocks, and each person is standing at a station as these boxes are coming down rollers that are
Mhm.
set up on pallets.
Okay.
These assembly lines are set, and people are putting in turkeys. The next section puts in dressing. Next section, corn. All the way down the line for 2 or 3 blocks. So it is massive, and yes, a lot of people's time is needed to make this thing productive and successful.
Gotcha. And if you're in need, if you're a person who, hey, the economy has got me, or I lost my job, or I'm not able to feed my family the way I am, can they participate in being able to receive some of that? What do they have to do to be able to do that?
In order to receive that, just go to the Epworth Foundation. There's a link where you can volunteer on, or you can become a nominated person for a turkey basket. And all you have to do is just fill out that information. It'll ask you for your name, your address, telephone number, email, and you can nominate yourself or someone else to receive a turkey basket. EpworthFoundation.com. So just go to that link and you'll find that.
All right, thank you. Because there are seasons in our lives, and for some of us, I don't want you to feel shame or feel bad
Exactly.
because you're in need. We'd rather you have a meal, rather you be able to support your family, do things, because we know that that's whatever is given can be reciprocated back when things are doing well. Pastor Frank, thank you so much for being part of our show today. Thank you for taking the time. I know you guys don't know this, but it was back and forth with us trying to make sure that we found time to be able to do some of the things that we're doing. But this was a great show. This was hopefully that you subscribe and be able to look at many more of these. But if you're able to take anything out of what we talked about today, just know that you are capable of doing so much, and that God loves you. And he wants to love you and love you and love you if you allow him to. And so, again, thank you for being on there. We look forward to seeing all of you on another episode, or seeing you at least listening to another episode. And if you do have people that you think would be amazing for this show, please go ahead and send me an email at brian@brianyarnold.com. And then, we will make sure that we get them on the show. I said I'm doing 100 men in 2024. I got more men to interview than I got days left. So we're going to continue to be able to move forward in this. And so any last words that you have, Pastor Frank?
First, just want to thank you again, Dr. Brian. Thank you. And as you mentioned, if you do not have a relationship with Jesus Christ, Dr. Brian or I would love an opportunity to introduce him to you. So again, thank you, Dr. Brian. I appreciate you.
All right. You guys have a wonderful day. He's exactly right. And we will talk to you on the next one. Talk to you soon.